Greetings, heathens and heretics and Welshmen. Something new for you this week. Not that you're completely new, Gav, obviously, but this is the first time it's the two of us, isn't it? So welcome
It's
to
a,
a
it's a
to a
romantic
wonderful new
setting
world.
with a glass of wine.
Got a glass of wine, we got candles, we got roses. It's
I've
a bit
got I've got a background, a lovely Welsh castle,
trainee.
trainee. This is like my final exam, and not one of Padre's stupid. We're gonna shaft the cultural advisor by giving him some weird quiz or making him listen to 40 hours of Dream Theater. This is like the first time, listening to these and coming on, just me and you kind of chatting. So this is like my bar exam, I reckon.
Right. Well, this is the first time we've done a Metal Monthly, so we are a little bit behind the game really. We didn't do April, so we're going to cover April and May, and just our kind of key releases really, I suppose, between the two of us. So I suppose we'll kick off with Benediction, shall we? Ravage of Empires, the greatest pub death metal band of all time, even more so than Bolt Thrower. So I suppose. I've been around Benediction for years. So from your point of view, what did you think of this? Because it's quite an immediate death metal album, to be fair. It's quite easy to get into.
Yeah, I think look, there's hooks, there's riffs, almost kind of choruses, and it is proper songs. You go straight in on a carrion harvest. It's a bit of a slow build, and then you get to about the 2 minute mark, and then it's Bosch. They've arrived, big riff, and it doesn't really stop from there. It just carries on, carries on, carries on. I've really enjoyed this album.
So for a sort of I suppose a newcomer to death metal, you know, there's this you can listen to a lot of death metal bands. You can listen to fucking a Cannibal Corpse or an Obituary or any those classic death metal bands. And Benediction are one of them. They're just not American. But I think for a band like this to be sort of 30 odd years into their career and they can still write songs that are catchy and hooky, and someone like yourself who's relatively new to the genre can enjoy it quite quickly. I think that says a lot. I think that
Yeah,
it comes back again. It comes back to songs and hooks.
I think so. And the vocals, they're gruff in places, but they're clean enough that you can understand the lyrics. And there are some cracking lyrics. You know, in Genesis Chamber, um, it builds up into I guess it is a chorus, and the way that the "Do I have the right" is kind of like spat at you with absolute disdain, is just brilliant. And then we end up with the romance song that you didn't know
The
that you
ballad.
needed, crawling over corpses for you. And you've got and every time I've listened to this song, right, it's this little part which just has me cracking up every time. Bleakly view your future, their final light so black, howling in the darkness as you're naked on my rack. Brilliant.
I mean, it's death metal 101, but with a band like Benediction, that's kind of what you want. You would never want them to sort of branch out from what they were doing. I mean, I've only ever seen Benediction once, and it was like 11 o'clock in the morning at Bloodstock. I think it was 2011, 2012, one of those. And the crowd was huge. And they were fucking brilliant. They were absolutely fucking brilliant that day. And ever since then, I've had this real sort of soft spot for them. And for sort of British death metal, which doesn't get held in the same regard as their US counterparts. Like Benediction, like I said, Bolt Thrower, Napalm Death, Cancer, these bands, they've all got something to offer. And Benediction, like I said, 30 odd years into their career, in 1993 they released a proper death metal classic in Transcend the Rubicon. It is like a genuine death metal classic. And if they were American, that would be held up there with, your Butchered at Births and things like that. So I don't think they've ever got the respect they deserve in the scene, you know. But all these years now, they're out there and they're banging out absolute sort of cracking albums. It was a vinyl purchase. It had to be, you know, full respect to them, I think. And the fact that, you know, you've got into this so quickly kind of says it all about how good they are.
It it didn't take many listens
No.
because it really just catches you. And you know, with with crawling over corpses, you can find yourself singing along. It really has got a proper kind of hook to it. I mean, they've been around for years. This went number 7 in the German charts. Brilliant.
Well, yeah, you can always rely on the Germans to sort of bring it home, I suppose. But yeah, no, it's the last one, Scriptures, was a really good album as well. It was very similar to this. They're all very riffy, you know, which at the end of the day, you can't really go wrong with that. So, you know,
Yeah.
if you're a fan of old school death metal, you know, you should already know who Benediction are anyway, to be honest with you. But yeah, an absolute fucking cracking
It's
start to the
11
month.
songs, 47 minutes, and it feels like it's gone in an instant. It
Yeah,
absolutely zips along. There's not a point on any of the songs where you're wondering, how long's left of the album. It is just, it flies by. And it's one of those ones where you can find yourself, oh, I'll just put it on again, double
yeah,
listen in a row.
yeah, yeah. It's nice and thrashy as well. I like that. It's got plenty of energy, plenty going for it. So
Yeah.
I think all we need from Benediction now is a few more UK shows. They just went out and did a European run with Master and Jungle Rot, which is a great lineup, and that should have been in the UK. But you know, it's a bit of a disgrace. Brummy band, but you know, not enough UK shows. So let's Benediction. If you happen to be watching this, let's have some UK shows.
Yeah.
I am in Chelmsford. Fuck it. Um, right. So a little bit more modern, I suppose. The new Bleed from Within album, Zenith. Now, I think from the point of view of this one, like Bleed from Within, they're a metalcore band, and with where we are with modern metalcore, Bleed from Within have been doing this for a few years, but with the likes of Architects and bands like that now that are getting huge, to be
Mm.
fair, um, you could have forgiven Bleed from Within for following the same formula as the likes of Architects, and you got the obviously from the US, you got bands like Spirit Box. But I was a bit, I was sort of a little bit sort of, how do you want to put it? A bit of trepidation going into this album, thinking, you know, what's it going to be like? Because I've quite liked their previous stuff, but I kind of expected them to go really kind of commercial with this one. But I don't think they have, and this has got hooks, I think, and I think they do it. They do this modern metalcore thing really well. They come across as quite likable as well, which I think helps. You know, they did the whole thing with Ramesh Ranganathan and what's he called, Rob Beckett,
Oh,
the
yeah.
download
Yeah.
thing. You know, which I thought was really cool. They came across as really cool guys, and that comes across. It makes it easier to like their music, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because they come across as decent guys. And I really enjoyed this album. I was quite surprised how much I enjoyed it.
It's taken me a little while to get into this one. And actually, I had this on uh, sitting just before kind of coming on the pod, just to kind of have another listen and another go. And I found that the first track kicks off so hard, so fast that I was struggling to almost kind of get past that first track. Yet, once you're in, all of a sudden there is all sorts
Yeah.
going on. Um, if Bean was here now, he would absolutely say that this has a groove, right? And and it does, like the track Zenith. Um, there's a harmony section kind of in it, and it actually reminded me a little bit of Live Forever on Body Count's album last year, where it just builds and it soars, and all of this kind of harmony kind of comes together and builds and builds, and then there is just a massive fuck off riff,
Mm.
and it just goes. Um, and then you've got a bit of kind of like the Scottish pipes in there as well. Um, and from then on, you don't get the same for the rest of the album. There is so
It is,
much
yeah,
variation.
it is quite varied for a metalcore album. I think it is quite varied. I'll give them that,
Um,
definitely.
like God Complex.
Ah, that's a banger. That's my favorite song on the album.
There's a guitar solo kind of slash breakdown at about 2 minutes 40 seconds, which is just massive.
Yeah,
Um, and then there's a line in it where it's this anthem for the corrupt, and it is an anthem, right? That one could be blasted out in an arena somewhere, and everybody would be going apeshit to that song.
it's
It
got a
probably is,
Slipknot feel, that
yeah,
song.
it probably is
You know,
the best track on the album.
it's got that kind of Slipknot stomp, that Slipknot do particularly well, and Machine Head tried to do on the new album. We won't talk about that. So I think what they've, like you said, what they've got is songs and they've got hooks, and that's what you want. Whereas the most recent Architects album just fell flat. There were, there was bereft of
Yeah.
energy and whatnot, and they're getting huge. Whereas these guys, I think they deserve to be bigger than they are. They've paid their dues. They've been around for quite a long time. They've been gradually getting bigger and bigger. I think they deserve the respect. I think the only duff point on this album, weirdly, is Immortal Desire, which has got Brandala from
Yeah,
Mastodon on it.
Mastodon.
It doesn't really fit the rest of the album. I don't quite understand what they were trying to achieve with it. I understand why they bring in someone like Brandala, but the song doesn't work.
No, and I think just before that, you've had Hope in Hell. And again, massive sound. Hooks, riffs, you've got that kind of juxtaposition between the clean vocals and the kind of the growl.
Mm.
And yeah, it kind of it falls a bit flat, Immortal Desire.
Yeah, it's just an odd. And I suppose if it was on the end of the album, it might make more sense. But it just kind of, I don't know, you lose a little bit of attention. You kind of
Yeah.
sort of drift off, which is quite common in the middle of any album, really. You get that sort of middling part where you just think, and it drifts off. But I just, yeah, it sort of just ruins the flow in general, really. But yeah, like, I'm going to see them in October because my 14-year-old loves this band and he wants to go and see them. So I booked tickets and I'm really looking forward to it because I
Where's it
think that'll
to?
be good live. Kennistown Forum in London.
Nice.
So I think they'll be good. They've basically, if you want me to be blunt, Architects went lame, Bleed from Within haven't. And I think that's why they get a bit of respect from me. I know that's a bit of a gatekeepery comment, but but at this stage in their career, they had the opportunity to go commercial and they haven't done it. They've kind of
Yeah.
stuck to what they do well, and they've given us a fucking banger of an album, and that's what matters.
I think it's one that I will end up going back to through the year and
Yeah,
probably just find extra bits as I kind of go along.
it's a good car album as well because
Yeah.
it's got that kind of stompy, drivey, groovy, kind of thing. So yeah, yeah, no, a really good one that I wasn't really expecting to like all that much. I might even pick up the vinyl. So yeah, yeah, I'll give it a go. Right, let's talk about Messa because this is an interesting one. This,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest with you, is currently one of my albums of the year. So the album's called The Spin. Messa, if you've never heard of them, they are they kind of mix, sort of 80s goth, classic metal. There's some post punk in there. There's sort of dark wave stuff. There's all sorts going
Uh,
on.
I asked ChatGTP what genre Messa was.
What did it say?
It said Scarlet Doom, um, but it will include aspects of jazz, blues, prog, black, dark ambient, and Middle Eastern.
I'd say that's fair.
And I thought that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Voice of Reason, Turn Away Now. You know,
Yeah,
but I think that kind of covers it. I mean, there's definitely some jazz moments in there. There's all
yeah,
the 80s goth and all that. That's quite high in the mix. But I think it's the subtleties and the atmosphere they create because it goes from being heavy to then being all sort of drawn out and atmospheric, and
yeah,
the female vocals kind of add the layers to that as well.
yeah.
Like my first listen, I was like, okay, this is good, but I went back to it a couple more times and ended up buying the vinyl when we were down in Bristol. And yeah, honestly, the more I've listened to it, it's up there in my top one, two, or three at the minute for the year. Um, the opening track, Void Meridian, that kind of got me quite quickly. I was very interested very quickly, and it was only after that that I kind of lost it a little bit at first. But that could be the cult, it's got that real, Billy Duffy kind of guitar line throughout it, and that's just, I can never get enough of that stuff.
It's Depeche Mode for me in
Yeah,
the first
that's in
couple of
there as
tracks.
well. That's in there as well.
Um, and it turns out that they use the same keyboard as Depeche Mode.
Did ChatGPT tell you that as well?
The Roland Juno
Oh,
106.
for fuck's sake! All right, fair enough.
There's two words that I kind of have written down, which as soon as I put this on, I think of, right? Dry ice.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like Sisters of Mercy just disappearing into a cloud of smoke.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I listened to it a couple of times and really liked the first couple of tracks. And then we were in Bristol and you were buying it. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And you said to me then, give it a couple more spins.
Yeah,
Um, and it has just grown and grown and grown. Um, it starts really synthy. Then you've kind of got these kind of bluesy guitar solos. Um, at races is really, really catchy. And then you've got Fire on the Roof where it starts, right? And it's a bit like Lucifer, almost that
yeah.
track. But the start of it could be the beginning of an 80s action movie montage.
And we're never going to complain of that.
No.
It's a great album. Another song that stands out for me is Reveal. It reminds me of sort of Dawn Razor era Fields of the Nephilim, and I can just never get enough of that. The Dress is another one, 8 minutes long, really proggy, kind of twists and turns all over the place, but
Yeah,
honestly a magnificent piece of work, and it kind of proves the point that it's quite easy to dismiss an album after listening to it for 40
I agree.
seconds.
Yeah.
And then you stick with it for a little bit and you listen to it like we used to do back in the day. And I've got a potential album of the year on our hands. Just a stunning, stunning piece of work. Just really, really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing them in the summer. Be very interesting because there's a lot of bands that do this kind of thing. You can go back over the last 20 years, and I suppose with Messa, I believe they're Italian, I think.
Yeah.
You kind of got direct comparisons to bands like Lacuna Coil, are Italian and they're a goth band and whatnot. And the like I said, the comparisons are there, but Lacuna Coil are a band that while they have their moments, they're a little bit dull, to be honest, because there's not really enough going on. Whereas I think Messa with this album, because there's all these jazz elements and the folk and the blues and the prog and the post punk, it just makes them so much more interesting. Such
It's
a
funny
cool
as
album.
we've been sat here speaking about them, the synthy riff from Void Meridian is here. I can hear it.
That's
Like
the
a
cool.
little,
There you
like
go.
it's just
Yeah.
burying itself into my head. And yeah, this is on my list to buy. I haven't bought it yet, but it's another one of these albums where you will listen to this, and every time you will find something else.
Yeah. 100%.
Because there are layers,
Yeah.
and there's layers on every track, and the tracks are different. There's variation all over the shop. And that description of all of those different things, they are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's, there's an awful lot going on.
And that's what keeps you interested.
Yeah, definitely.
You're never
Yeah,
going to get bored listening to this, I don't think. I mean, not in my opinion. But if you've never heard of them, if you are into stuff like Sisters of Mercy and the Cult and all that kind of thing, you will get a lot out of this. But there is, I'm not saying it's a throwback. It's got all those elements. There's plenty of modern touches to it as well. Just whatever they're doing really, really well. And I haven't actually heard any of their previous stuff other than like a couple of songs here and there. So I
no, I
really
haven't
need
gone
to
back
kind
and
of
listened to
dip
anything.
into it a
Yeah.
bit more. So yeah, that we'll be well, I will definitely be talking about it in December, 100%.
Where are they playing this summer?
I'll see them at Alcatraz, but I believe they are doing UK dates with Paradise Lost as well.
Nice.
So, that just works perfectly. So if you go in, definitely get there early enough to check them out because yeah, it's just superb, superb.
Yeah.
Should we talk about frogs?
Why not?
Fucking yeah, frogs, toads, the mighty Froglord. So as this episode goes out, which is probably going to be a Saturday night, tonight, I am surrounded by frogs and toads and amphibious servants. So they're playing in Chelmsford. Um, Froglord Metamorphosis. Now, Froglord are a mad band for me. They are fucking mad, but at the same time, I mean, from the stuff we'll come back to in a minute. What you were talking about, offline about, what they've got involved with frogs and toads and amphibians and that kind of thing. Because a band like this, it'd be easy to write them off as a little bit gimmicky and a little bit silly, a bit daft. But when you break them down as just a band and the whole concept of what they do, they live it and breathe it.
Yeah.
And, it's not a gimmick at all. The sound that they create works with the aesthetic of what they create on stage and in videos and things like that. And I think, their previous stuff's been really good, but this album is particularly good. It's absolutely filthy. It's just got the weirdest fuzzy guitar tone I think I've ever heard. And I can't wait to hear what it sounds like live as well, because how they replicate it, I don't know. But a whole world of fun. But whatever it is they do, they take it very seriously. So what is it? So you found out a few things about this band this week. So
Yeah. I just think the whole kind of commitment to the cause of wearing the masks. I've seen so much on social media over the last 3 or 4 weeks since the album's been released, and they're still in their masks. In all of their interviews, they are living and breathing the characterization that they've kind of made as part of the
yeah,
mythology, which kind of sits within the band. And it was off one of their press briefs. It was like Froglord awakens every 10,000 years to restore ecological balance to Earth. And you're like, it's great. They have got this whole kind of history behind it, but they put out a Save the Frogs EP, and all of the money raised went to amphibian conservation.
yeah, which is really fucking
And
cool.
yeah, yeah, and they raised like a few £1,000s
Yeah,
towards that. Brilliant. I mean, for me, I think the album it's got a slow build on the first track, and then Follow the Star just kicks it up a bit gear, and then by the time you get to Herman and the harmonica comes in, you are sold
you're in. Yeah,
at that point.
you're
You
in
are
the swamp.
you are in. Yeah, you beat me to it. Yeah, you. But you could be in New Orleans in the fucking swamp when
Yeah,
that harmonica kicks in, right? And um, it's brilliant. That harmonica just levels that whole thing up, and immediately I'm listening. You're not drifting away when that's kicked in. You
yeah,
are there. You are what's going on now, and that addition to bring that additional kind of instrument into this, it makes a massive difference, and it is brilliantly done.
yeah. It really is the way they merge all these different, like you said, the harmonica and all this sort of atmospheric element to it. We'll talk about the Aerosmith cover in a minute. Um, it's so eccentric. It's a really unique take on Doom,
Yeah.
and it does actually feel like you are in a swamp when you are listening to this. It's
Well, you've
bizarre.
got on a couple of the tracks, you've got like the cricket noises
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
the ribbits kind of in and out, kind of floating in and out. And I like the way that they've structured the album actually, because you have got a slow build, but by the time you get to Cryptids, all of a sudden there's energy, right?
Yeah,
And it's really kind of chugging along. And then you get to mutation and it's faster again and it's building, building, building to a crescendo. As they're kind of telling you a story then about Herman, the Frog Lord, all the
yeah.
way through through to the till you get to the Aerosmith cover. It's really, really cleverly structured.
So the Aerosmith cover is "Sweet Emotion." It was released as a single anyway, so you know if anyone's familiar with Froglord, they'll be familiar with this regardless. But I'm not an Aerosmith fan, to be perfectly honest with you. And "Sweet Emotion," yeah, okay, it's a good song, but what did you think of it?
So I had Guitar Hero Aerosmith, and Sweet Emotion is on there, and it is fucking rock hard. So I actually did know this song quite well, and I actually really like this. I really like it as a cover, and it's another one of these songs where I've had it on in the car, I've gone and done something, and then half an hour later, or I'm finding myself Sweet Emotion. It's there, earworm. Um, I really like it. Really like it. Good cover.
Yeah,
It's a nice way to finish the album off.
yeah, I think so. It doesn't feel like it's just tacked on the end, does it? It feels like a part of the album, but it's
Yeah.
something a bit different to offer, and yeah, I think they do it. I think they do it really well, to be fair. So um, I'm so looking forward to seeing them live, like so looking
Yeah,
forward to
I'm disappointed I'm not there this weekend or tonight as this
it.
when it's
Yeah,
kind of
tonight.
going
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Um yeah, so everybody in Chelmsford, I hope you have an absolutely banger seeing these guys because I think they're going to sludge and swamp it right up.
It's nearly sold out as well. So hopefully by the time this goes out, it will be. Oh, right, Kal-El. Kal, is that how is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Kal-El.
Yeah, it's some Superman reference. This is where you do need voice of reason to
Yeah, yeah,
give us
yeah.
a proper bit of Superman background. Is it Superman's dad or is it actual Superman? I
I
can't
don't,
remember.
I don't know. I got no idea. But anyway, the album's called Astral Voyager, Volume One, and there is a Volume Two coming out later this year, apparently.
Yeah.
And so Kal-El, they're a Norwegian stoner band, stonery, doomy type thing. Probably more along the stoner than they are doom. I saw them at Desert Fest last year, actually, by chance, really, because I didn't really know who they were, and I like really enjoyed them. I couldn't quite pin them down, but I thought they were really, really good. They're a really tight live band, really engaging. This album came out this year, and we all kind of resonated towards it because we knew who they were. But first listen, I was like, something's missing. Something isn't quite sort of clicking here. And I couldn't quite pinpoint what it is, whether it was the production or what it was. I don't know. But you took to this quite quickly, didn't you?
I did. I think yeah, it's tricky on a Friday, isn't it? You know, you've got 50 albums that are
Yeah.
there to look through. You're spinning through, you see this album cover, and you're immediately like, oh, I like the look of that. Um, and you then find out that it's this whole, again, a kind of a story tell album where this is the story of Mika, an intergalactic bounty hunter, navigating a universe filled with challenges. And the fact then that you have got the kind of the volume two later this year, I think is an absolutely brilliant decision. I'll come on to that in a minute. Because you start off with Astral Voyager, you've got this kind of 9 minute epic song, which takes you on a bit of a journey. It's giving you a bit of the kind of the background. Then you get into BTDSC, and that could be I think he's got bits of Fu Manchu in it.
Mm,
It reminds
definitely.
me of actually the Quill from last year.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got the kind of the big kind of Aussie vocals thing kind of going on through a lot of it, but it's funky, it's psychedelic, it's groovy, it's got hooks, and for me, Cloudwalker, best track on the album. One of my favorite tracks of the whole year so far. it just feels absolutely massive. There's all sorts going on in it. Um, and it is just it's anthemic. Again, it's kind of just I've written down on this, is this a headphone album? Because it's when you kind of get in close with it and you're really kind of listening to everything that's going on, and it's kind of telling you this story all the way through. Is that going to give you kind of a better experience of, say, what was it, Benediction kind of in your car?
Yeah,
I don't think, because, I do think there are, there's a time and a place to kind of listen
yeah,
to
definitely.
to stuff like this. Um, but I've found myself going back and back and back to this over and over again.
Well, that's obviously always a good sign. I mean, as I said when I first started talking about this, first listen, I was a bit, something's missing a bit. Gablet's confused, but we haven't talked about it much since it came out as a group kind of thing. But since then, I've gone back and I've listened to it again, mainly for this episode. Gone back and given it a few more listens, and I fucking love it. Like
I do.
it really clicked. It was one particular listen. I think I was listening to it in the car, and it just clicked. You know when something just
Yeah,
goes, yeah, I get it now, and it just hit me. Void Cleaner is the highlight song for me. It's a proper headbanger.
yeah,
But the album as a whole, yeah, it's fucking brilliant. There's a bit of a 90s grunge feel about it as well. So
yeah,
that
yeah. I get
it
that.
kind of,
Yeah,
it scratches that itch too. And I just, yeah, considering I wasn't all that fussed about it on first listen, again, as we were saying about Messa earlier on, you
yeah.
give things a bit of time, and I think so far this is a top 10 of the year so far. Love it.
And my reason for saying I think it's a good choice to put out the volume two is that this album is just long enough, right? If they tried to put it all in on one,
Yeah,
it could have got to the point of just too much,
yeah, yeah,
and then you kind of drift away onto something else and whatnot. But actually, I'm excited for part two,
ooh,
volume two to come out. Um, I mean, it doesn't end with an EastEnders dum 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 dum, but you know, it's cliffhanger-esque for me to think, right, well, I've got to wait until October, November, I think it is, when the second part comes out, and I will be looking forward to it. So, whether it's a good market employ or what, it's done its job.
yeah. I'm all for it. I think double albums can be a little bit much. It's just, especially this kind of music. If you
Yeah.
got Stone or Doom and that, unless it's a band like Bell Witch or Old Horntooth or something like that, who do just drag everything out, 20-minute songs and whatnot. This kind of thing can get quite dull if it goes on too far. So I think
Yeah,
breaking it
so
up
what's
into two
this?
albums is probably sensible.
42 minutes,
Yeah,
this
it's,
one.
it's just about right. It's only,
If
what is it,
this
6 or 7 songs, isn't it?
six songs,
Six
but if
songs, yeah.
if the second version, if the second volume's also 42 minutes,
Yeah.
84 minutes in one go is probably too much.
You would zone out, I think.
Yeah.
With this kind of music, it would be
Yeah.
it would be natural too. So yeah, let's see what they do with it. Whether I don't know whether they might go like sonically, it might be different. If it's telling
Yeah.
a story, I don't know, but I'm interested
I,
to hear where they go with it.
I'd also be interested to know what they're going to do with the vinyls because I've kind of held off from buying
Too
volume.
expensive.
Well, but will they release both of them in a like a double pack?
I mean, maybe they might do, but I mean,
And
I haven't seen it in the UK for less than about 40 quid.
yeah,
This one, so which is just that's that sucks. But
yeah.
I get it. It is what it is. But
But that's it. I mean, if it's coming up towards Christmas and there's like a double volume special edition one, then
yeah.
I might be in for that.
Yeah, no, I like if I've been and looked for it on vinyl, I'd be keen.
Yeah.
But you know, when you get to that 40 quid mark, that's when you get very, very choosy about what you buy. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I wasn't quite there because I thought if it gets a proper UK, an actual UK release, because it's all on import, so that's why. But if it
Yeah.
gets a proper UK release, then and it's a bit cheaper, then yeah, I'll definitely get involved. Um,
What's next?
One I did buy on vinyl, all the way from Greece, Black Sword Thunder Attack. And
Brilliant name.
great name, self-titled album, which if you got a band name like that, why would you give it another title? I mean, it is
Uh,
denim and leather, studs, bullet belts, full on fucking Eternal Champion style, heavy fucking metal. Um, it's but it is a weird one as well because we were talking about this just before or the episode. They've got zero presence
yeah.
online or anything like that, so don't know anything about them. They seem to have been around for 20 odd years, only releasing a few demos and whatnot, but known absolutely nothing about them. What they look like, who they are, how many of them there are, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No,
But
I fell down a rabbit hole on this one trying to find out. And yeah, just couldn't find anything apart from, they've had been around since 2002. And then when you look the songs that are on this album, loads of them are pulled from
yeah,
like demos and whatnot that they've done throughout that 20-year period, and then they've now re-recorded them into this full-length debut.
yeah, it's an odd one. I mean, it. I suppose talk. But the first thing to talk about really is the production because I believe it's an intentionally understated production that it's done quite raw, quite
Yeah,
basic, but it's got plenty of punch. So, despite the fact sometimes it might seem a little bit flat, it works with what they're trying to achieve. That's without
yeah.
knowing anything about them.
And
That's the impression I get.
it is funny though, isn't it? Because you messaged me and said, right, you need to listen to this. You're like this. And then I listened to it and I came back to you and went, I don't know about the production. It just sounds like the singer's a bit like far away from
In a
like the
cave.
rest of the music and whatnot. And then you come back and went, oh, I think that's they've probably done it on
Yeah,
purpose.
I think so.
And that was one thing that when I did start kind of look, it does say that they've kind of gone for this lo-fi production as a choice.
But it doesn't sound shit. It's not.
No, no,
We're not
no,
talking
no.
mid 90s dark throne here. It's like it's it fits with the music. It doesn't
Yeah,
need to sound kind of like bombastic and overproduced because so many metal albums these days, you could argue they are overproduced. So this fits just right for me. You've got like opener, the Black Sword, that really kind of sets the tone for where the album's going to go. You know what the rest of it's going to be.
yeah.
You've got the big sort of bong bells in that as well, and
A
it's
what?
just
A
bong,
bong.
bong. I, it's look, I love this kind of thing. I'm always a sucker for this kind of metal because it's just everything that I kind of grew up on with obviously bands like Maiden and stuff like that. It's all of that, but taken to a whole
There's
different level.
there's a constant chug and
Yeah,
drive. It doesn't ever stop. It's continually moving
yeah, it
forward.
is.
And I think the first time I listened to it, I was kind of waiting maybe for it to kind of kick up a gear, right?
Yeah,
But you soon realize it's not going to. This is it, right? But it's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down from here. And it does just keep going and going and
yeah.
going and going and going. Um, it's funny, like vocally, and kind of lyrically, it reminded me of Grendel's sister from last year, but a kind of a faster, kind of more kind of metal tone to it, whereas Grendel is probably a bit more kind of like folky in the woods, paganish somewhere. But then also elements of dungeon crawl. There's like this dungeon kind of synth to it. And Gate of Fire, it is. There's the start of that. It sounds like it could be some kind of like 80s Dungeon and Dragon game on a Commodore 64. Right? And I'm fucking here for that. Right? And then what is even better is so you have this kind of Dungeon and Dragons kind of bit, and then there's a glass break a la Stone Cold Steve
Stone
Austin,
Cold. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then bosh, it goes. I'm listening to myself now thinking, this sounds fucking nuts. It works. That Gate
It,
of
it,
Fire is an absolute banger.
it really is. It really is. I mean, look, it's straight to the point, heavy metal. What it reminds me of is Angel Witch's self-titled album. It's very similar to that. It's the same kind of new wave of British heavy metal, still quite raw, just good strong songs and lots of sort of
Yeah.
kind of fist in the air stuff. And
You know we love a bit of Angel Witch.
we love a bit of Angel Witch, Angel Witch, Angel Witch, and even look like the album cover. There's swords everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you got a hand holding a sword. There's a sword in the logo. There's fucking. It's just these little attention to detail. Love it. Absolutely love it.
I'm
You know.
super impressed that you've managed to get the vinyl as well, all the way from
I
Greece.
yeah, I got
Super.
it straight from No Remorse Records. It wasn't that easy to sort of track down, but there obviously isn't that many copies. But yeah, I was well happy to pick it up, and to be fair, it's a nice vinyl. It's a nice 180 gram vinyl, and it just sounds exactly how it's supposed to sound. Fucking love it.
It's a good
Absolutely love
album.
it.
It's a good, fun album.
Yeah, which is what heavy metal's supposed to be. Don't take it too
Yeah.
seriously. You know,
Yeah.
strap on your denim and leather and your bullet
Careful.
belt. Yeah, and get involved. Right. Let's let's do Midnight now.
Where do you
we-
start with this?
Well, yeah, exactly. This is a mad one. So the
Oh,
album's Steel, Rust, and Disgust. Anybody who knows Midnight know exactly what they're all about. It is living and breathing the spirit of Motorhead and late 70s, early 80s punk and all the attitude and all the swagger you would get with that. I didn't realize at first that this is largely a covers album. There's two original songs on it, Cleveland Metal and the title track. But to say it's a covers album doesn't even really scratch the surface
no.
because not only have they midnightified all these songs, yes, there's some crust punk on there and some traditional punk and things like that, but there is some mad stuff on this album. It's absolute the stuff they have chosen to cover is bonkers, and you would never put two and two together and get it right.
No.
Never.
No. I mean, part of the fun of this, I mean, I knew we were going to kind of talk about this, and I was just trying to find out, and I found out by accident that it was kind of the covers
Yeah.
were on there. When you then start going back and listening to the original, it's then that you start to get the real picture of what has happened on here. Um, if you're taking David Allan Coe's Rock and Roll Fever and turning that into some filthy, dirty punk song, it's, I mean, the difference is completely polar opposites.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. Screaming Jay Hawkins, another one. You would just never expect this songs by these artists to be covered by a band like this. But
Yeah,
what got me thinking was so myself and Bean have a lot of conversations about blues in heavy metal, right? And the likes of Screaming Jay Hawkins, David Allan Coe, these are all sort of essentially blues musicians,
yeah,
and it just proves where that link is. When heavy metal falls down is when there's a lack of the blues. I look at new metal, you look at shit like deathcore, which my 14-year-old has discovered recently. Not happy about it at all, but that'll be another conversation. But even a band like Midnight, who are all attitude and it's raucous and it's pissed off and it's got loads of spite, they're still deep rooted in blues because it's rock and roll. It's same as Motorhead were. So it just proves that you can take songs like what they've covered on this album and turn them into these raging fucking punky rock and roll metal anthems and not even think that it could possibly be a cover.
no.
They've turned it all into Midnight songs.
I mean, you start off with Cleveland Metal, which could possibly be the best ever cheap pop that Midnight will ever have, because no matter where they fucking play that song, right? If it's in Cardiff, it's Cardiff metal. If it's
Cardiff
in
metal.
Chelmsford, it's Chelmsford metal.
Yes.
It is. It's Mick Foley's cheap pop, the metal version, but it's brilliant. And immediately you're kind of hit by that kind of chorus, kind
Yeah,
of Cleveland metal, Cleveland metal. Um, you kind of touched on the vocals. So when you get to Final Solution, right, he is not spitting these lyrics, right? There is bile and food and everything coming up with these lyrics, right? They are absolutely being vomited at you. So when he sings "Don't need a cure, I need a final solution," it is lit. I mean, you can hear the saliva dripping off it as it's just being chucked straight at you. Um, and then by the time you get to Child Eater,
the Rubber City Rebels cover. This is something else.
I mean, if there's one track that anybody needs to go and listen to from this album, it is Child Eater.
Yeah,
Do not listen to the original first, right? Listen to this version first and then go and listen to the original because the sound effects, the noises, I mean, it's enough to be it reminded me a bit of kind of green jelly, the way that it's kind of
yeah, yeah. I get that.
um but it's fun, it's disgusting, it's hideous, and it's brilliant.
It
And
really is.
I guarantee that for the rest of this year, every now and again, somebody in the WhatsApp group will just put child eater, child eater. Hey, you've done it in the last week from nowhere. It's just gone in there, and everyone's immediately like, "Yeah, midnight,
I
yeah,
was under the influence. I mean, I can't. They're playing in London in July, the very end of July or early August. I can't wait. I've always wanted to see Midnight. I've never had the chance to, so I can't wait. New Crossing is going to be absolutely. It's going to be
yeah."
a sweat fest.
I'm out of the country. Otherwise, I would have been there. I would
It's
have
going to be a
definitely
whole lot of
been there.
fun, and I hope they bang out Child Eaters because I'll go fucking nuts to that.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
lyrically. You got to bear in mind we are talking sort of early '80s crust punk here, so lyrically is a little bit questionable, but
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
you know,
the middle section, which is a probably about a 30-second kind of talking element, is it's something.
yeah, it really is.
I'll leave it as that. Just you have to go and listen to it. You absolutely have to find out what the hell we're blathering on about.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a listen. But Midnight are great. You know, they do what they do, and they fucking do it better than most. So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see them. Right, before we get to the sort of headline album from the last couple of months, just want to touch on 1968. It's dropped a single called Endgame. So for those who don't know who they are, good friend of the podcast, Mr. Andy Valiant from Flamebearer. This is his other band, and oh fuck me, how the hell do you describe this band? So I've heard the album as well, which is called Royal Bastards. Great title, and which is just nuts from start to finish. So this single is out there now on streaming platforms, so you can go and listen to it. It's got Andy's trademark, full on fucking absolute balls out vocal delivery right from the start. You know, he just kind of just screams it and then
He's
goes
never
into
going
his
to do
clean
anything in
bits.
half measures, is he?
No, he
Let's be
absolutely doesn't.
honest.
And you would never have him any other way.
He
And
wouldn't. He wouldn't.
yeah, it's still got all that swagger that Flamebear had, but I think it's almost another level up because it's a lot more sort of in your face and a lot, you know, punky's probably not the word, but it's got that extra bit of attitude. So yeah, I mean it's great. Like I said, the single's out there now. The album Royal Bastards is out on the 19th of June. We'll try and talk about it a little bit more before it comes out if we can get time because it's well worth it. But it's just a whole world of riffy fun. So, you know, get
Yeah, they
involved. It's
released
glorious.
uh they released a promo video yesterday, I think it was,
I've not seen that.
on social media. It's worth a watch. Definitely get on, listen to the single before the album comes out in a couple of weeks' time.
Does Andy take his shirt off in the video?
He doesn't. No, it's
Oh,
unfortunate.
that's disappointing. That's
They're so
disappointing.
used to it.
Andy, never change. We love you. Don't ever do anything any different.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. 1968 Endgame. It's out there now, and then the album in a couple of weeks on the 19th. Royal Bastards. Check that out too. Fucking great. Right. So the highest profile album
Yeah.
of the last couple of months. Um, and they're a band that despite the fact they're massive, they do polarize an awful lot of opinions in the metal world. So it's Ghost. We all know who Ghost are. The new album Skeletor. Um, I'm a fan of Ghost. I love Ghost. I like what they do. I like the whole concept. I like the aesthetics of it all. I think it's all very cool. They write just the most ridiculous hooks. They are a modern day stadium rock band for me, and that's why I thought they're worth talking about. Yes, they're huge and all that, but it's getting to the point now where it's not cool to like Ghost. Well, that's what it feels anyway, and I've never really understood it because I think Ghost are fucking great, great songs. They know how to write great riffs. They're brilliant. So, from your point of view, what did you think of this album?
Well, I fired through their whole back catalogue last year at some point when we were kind of just discussing bits and pieces and said, oh, and I think a few of you said, like, I think you'll probably really like Ghost. So I have come in to this album having listened to all of their other
Hmm.
stuff. Um, I really like this album, right? If you're not smiling when you finish listening to this, there's something wrong with you,
Yep.
right? You get straight in with Peace Field to start off with. And for me, it's got a journey, separate ways type of kind of synthy kind of tone to it. But it is, as you say, it's an 80s arena rock sound.
Yeah.
And then there's quiet moments which kind of really fire up the kind of the tension and the emotion, and then bang, they go again. I mean, loads of these songs could be in any 80s movie that you want to name.
Yeah. Yeah. And
There's
I think
riffs,
that's
there's hooks. It it sounds massive. You've got a fucking ballad. You've got an inappropriate song called Love Missiles, which could be written by Kiss. Right? I mean, if you put that Love Missiles, right? Somebody needs to do this actually, right? Someone needs to get the Kiss Lick It Up video and just put Love Missiles over the top of it, and it would be fine. Right?
I
They
don't
would,
think
it
it'd
would
be
work.
fine, but not in the
It's
current climate,
it's
but
absolutely innuendo galore. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. I've shot you right between your eyes with my love missiles.
yeah, look, but what makes it so good is you probably have to listen to that 4 or 5 times before you realize what that means. There's a
Yeah,
subtlety to what ghosts do. It's not, you get bands like Steel Panther who are just too blatant and too in your face and too obvious and are absolutely pointless. Whereas ghosts take innuendo and a bit of naughtiness and all that.
yeah,
And like I said, it's a level of subtlety that makes it acceptable and makes it fun. It's not in any it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable listening to these lyrics or anything like that. It's all very tongue in cheek. It's no different than going back to Def Leppard doing Pour Some Sugar on Me.
yeah,
And this album does have a bit of a Mutt Lang feel to it, the way it's produced. It's very, very polished, very clean. The choruses are very big.
yeah,
Like you said, it could be on any 80s movie soundtrack.
yeah.
So, you know,
There's I've talked about it a few times where I've kind of, I've talked about the earworm, right? And this
yeah,
is
yeah,
definitely a thing for me, is that if I wake up 2 days after I've listened to an album and all of a sudden there's a song in my head, I'm going,
yeah.
what the fuck is that song? Right? And one of these was Satanized off here.
What a chorus.
I was just, it took me about 30 minutes though of kind of like, I've got come downstairs, I've been in the shower, I'm making a coffee. Oh, that was it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I've still, it's there. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant chorus. Um, but again, there's lots of kind of difference within this. There's, I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Lacrima? that's maybe a bit heavier, but it feels dark.
Yeah,
Um, Almost kind of horror movie-esque. There's elements of it which could be on like an 80s horror kind of soundtrack, like a score
yeah.
underpinning kind of within that. And then you've got Excelsis towards the end, right? That could be off the fucking Highlander soundtrack. It could be a Queen song off the Highlander soundtrack. It could be.
There can be only one.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about the whole ghost aren't metal thing, and while that's completely irrelevant, it really is because they're no less a metal band than, like I said, the likes of Def Leppard. You can argue what that means. Are they metal? Are they not? We talked about Sleep Token a couple of weeks ago. They're not a metal band. They probably don't think they're a metal band, but for some reason they are billed as by
Yeah.
Metal Hammer, by Kerrang, even fucking HMV placing their records in the metal section. So it doesn't really matter. However you pigeonhole Ghost, all that really matters is they write great fucking songs. They've got a pop sensibility that you just can't beat,
Yeah.
and they've got enough evil to make them kind of fit with the metal world, I suppose, as it were. And they
Yeah.
do have, and there are the riffs in there as well. So whatever people think of them, I think they just get stick for the sake of it. Personally, they are one of those bands. They're the major festival headliners of the future. I wouldn't be surprised to see them headline Download next year. Um, they are, th-
You know,
they're up there.
they've got the theatrics.
Yeah,
Um, they've got the whole no phone thing at their shows,
backfired a little
albeit
bit of that.
albeit somebody had a very good view and a very good video with the phone that they'd snuck in. Hmm, maybe a bit cynical that they might have kind of done that one on purpose because it looks like it's very professional.
Yeah, I saw that same video.
Um, but you're going to come away from that show having seen a show.
Yeah,
It's not just a gig, it's not just a band going through the motions. There's going to be theatrics and videos and lights and special effects and everything else that goes with it. And you are going to leave that and you're going to fucking remember that you've been there.
because you haven't watched it through someone else's fucking phone screen.
Yeah.
You know, look, we all take photos and short videos and that, but it still annoys me. People just standing there filming
Yeah.
it will always fucking irritate me. But I mean, it backfired a little bit, the whole no phones thing. I think they've had issues getting people in and out of venues and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's always a tricky one that, like Maiden have requested that people keep their phones in their pockets as much as possible. That's probably the right approach. Other than forcing the issue, I think that might be a little bit too far. But it is what it is. But they deserve the respect they should get, regardless of whether they're metal or not. I think they're fucking great. This album's great. They're on a high.
Yeah.
They're only going to get bigger and bigger, and I'll be very surprised if they're not headlining Download next year. So yeah, fucking just love them, Ghost.
It's
Fucking
just
brilliant.
it's just atmosphere, isn't it? You get drawn in.
And a bit of humor, which you
Yeah.
need. If you want to listen to deadly serious music, you'll go and listen to My Dying Bride or whatever. But if you want, something to put, like you said, you listen to this album and not have a smile on your face at the end of it, there's something wrong with you. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Pure enjoyment, pure escapism, if you want.
Yeah.
So just leave all the bullshit at the door and just enjoy bands like Ghost for what they are. That's just a fucking great rock band.
Yeah. Who
Simple as
write
that. Yeah,
great songs.
yeah, exactly. So there you go. We have spoken. And we haven't even got a voice of reason here to kind of tie it all together. So,
No, to be fair, we've
yeah.
been on our best behavior, really, haven't we? Without anybody to rein us in.
No, that's true. That's true. Boobs, tits, poo, and all that. But so, that was April and May. Sorry, we're a little bit behind, but we've all got busy lives and whatnot. But it's been a couple of good months. June is looking strong already. So we'll try to come back and do June. Oh, look, he's upgraded.
I've been promoted.
I didn't tell you could do that.
I've made the executive decision myself.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
My
But
own fucking logo.
fucking getting ideas of obviously Padre's not going to be happy when he comes back. Uh,
Well,
but
that's his own fault for making me get him a Slayer ticket and then deciding not to be in the UK when they're here.
appalling behaviour. Absolutely
He
appalling
needs to
behaviour.
be hung, drawn, and quartered for that, and
Yeah,
he's in the right place for it.
it feels like a kangaroo court moment that, so we might have to
Yeah,
deal with that. But yeah, yeah, we'll pick up with June. We got lots coming up this month, so please stick with us. Give us a subscribe, please, because it all helps. You'll get to know when new episodes are coming and things like that. Give us a few likes and whatnot. Chuck some comments in below. Albums that we've missed from April and May, because there's bound to be some. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a few days. Stay metal.